Welcome to Uncharted Entrepreneurship, your front row seat to daring stories from the boldest business trailblazers forging new paths across industries. I'm your host, Brent Peterson, armed with inside access, sitting down with partners, founders, and CEOs in the entrepreneurial world. Let's explore. Welcome to this episode of Uncharted Entrepreneurship. Today I have Tim Barsness with Fjorge. Tim, go ahead, do an introduction for yourself. Tell us your day-to-day role and one of your passions in life.
Sure. I'm Tim Barsness, founder and CEO of Fjorge. I've been working or building Fjorge for almost 20 years now, kind of taking the long path to growth, but I'm very happy with where it's come. Shoot, I've forgotten, Brent. What were the other questions you asked?
Like your day-to-day role and maybe a passion?
Sure. So I'm the CEO, visionary in traction terms for Fjorge. So day to day, that means I guess a lot of things, but primary things that I think about are how do we fit into the market, how do we attract better talent, and how do we deliver better results to our customers.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I think talent attraction is such a big thing now, especially in the tech business. It's
for sure.
People can't believe how hard it is to find people and retain people, even more importantly, right?
Yep, absolutely. You also asked about my passions in life. I'll name three if that's all right with you.
Yeah.
So first, I'm big into hockey. I started playing hockey after college and have really enjoyed men's league hockey. I'm a golfer, so I spend my summers doing that. And then I have 4 kids, and I'm into whatever they're into on any given day.
Yeah, the kids probably take up 110% of your life, and then the rest is left for hockey and golf.
There you go. Yep.
Tim, before we get started on our content, we're going to talk a little bit about Fjorge. We're going to talk about the EO Minnesota, and maybe the board. We can touch on your role with the board. But I'd like to tell you a joke, and all you have to do is say, should this joke be free, or do you think we should charge for it? It's called the Free Joke Project, and I have some really cool AI-driven images to go along with it. I made a seal for the joke, like the Minnesota State seal, but it literally gave me a seal in it, so it's really cool.
All right.
So here we go. What do you call a paper airplane that can't fly? A stationary.
I'd give that one away for free.
Yeah, I know. Remember I told you before that the jokes aren't going to be funny?
Yeah, well, I like it. You got to chuckle out of me. Can I give it a go?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, here we go. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow who?
Moo!
I kind of saw that one coming. That's a good one. I'd pay for that one. All right, I got a return for you. I've never started a new band. Wait, hold on. Jeez, I already blew it. This is where the editing comes in. I started a new band called Blanket. It's a cover band.
Oh, nice. You're killing it, Brent.
I know.
I'll pay for that one.
I keep trying to lose weight, but somehow it keeps finding me. Yeah, we'll stop.
Isn't that the truth?
We could go all day. We could, but we're not. I know you got worried. I could see the worry in your face. All right, Tim. All right, so let's tell us a little bit. Give us some background on Fjorge. When did you start it? And then tell us, like, in that journey of starting your business, how did you meet EO and how did that come about?
Yeah, sure. So I've officially founded Fjorge in 2005. Let's see. We were kind of 2 people through my early to mid 20s. So it was the 2 of us working on custom software projects. That's primarily still what we do today. I joined EO's accelerator program in 2008. So I was an accelerator for their accelerator program from 2008 to about 2012. And that's a program that takes businesses from the 250,000 mark to the million mark to help you qualify for EO. So that program was really beneficial for me. I met a lot of, like-minded people. I think, when I initially started, I felt really alone in what I was doing, and to know that there were other people kind of in the same boat with similar kind of problems with that business size was really valuable to me. I stepped away from Accelerator in 12, and then joined EO proper in 2015. So I've been in EO about eight plus years. It's been a huge part of my personal and professional life.
Yeah, and I got my same introduction into Accelerator. I think I started in 2014 in Accelerator, and it was one meeting. Like it was a quarterly day, and one thing was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I need. And I think I want to just dig in on what you said about like you felt alone, like there wasn't anyone to talk to. And for me, I just did whatever I was going to do, and more than half the time I was wrong.
Yep.
And nobody to kind of bounce ideas off of.
Right. I agree with that. I think for me, it's not like I had this vision to build this grand thing. I was really in a position where I was almost a glorified freelancer, had one employee, right? And if our basic market positioning was if somebody had a technical problem that they wanted solved, we would solve it for them. But it's kind of hard to explain to people what that means and find them at the right time. So I guess I would say I didn't really have a vision. I maybe didn't even know what vision was. And it's something that finding other people and understanding how they think about things really helped me there.
Do you think there's a hurdle? Because I was also a freelancer with one employee way back in the day. Do you think there's a hurdle with how do I manage a person and how do I get those tasks out of my head into that person so we can scale this?
I mean, there's definitely a hurdle for that. And I think, there's another term, scaling, that I had no idea what that meant or why it mattered. But, I made the assumption early on in my work that because it came pretty naturally to me, that it was easy and that anyone could do it. And I found out kind of the hard way that, there's a lot more to it than that. There's, the things that come naturally to me on my inside to be able to put those into other people and help them have similar or the same passion as me was a real challenge for sure.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk maybe a little about EOS later, but there's some tools that you can employ if you're using some of the tools out of the toolbox, which is an open source toolbox that anybody can use.
Right.
That would be there's a people finder, and there's all kinds of different things that you can employ now that as you get more educated to help you understand, is this the right person for the right seat?
Yeah. I think, both right person and right seat are critical, obviously. I worked at a couple organizations when I was in high school where they had values, but they were values in the sense that they had words on the wall. And if you asked anyone about them, they wouldn't be able to say how they relate to them. And I think when we implemented Traction, our implementer helped teach me what it meant to have values that matter and instill them in our people.
Yeah, and I love that idea about values because one of the things that you should be doing, I should never say should because we shouldn't should on people, right? One thing
you can shit on me if you want.
One thing that we always tried to do is hire people for values, and it's easier said than done, right? You have these core values, and you hire people that match those core values, and if they don't match the core values, A, don't hire them,
right?
But B, figure out, at some point they're going to have to go, right? There's not an easy way to say, hey, you don't meet any of our core values. Maybe there's a different job for you in our organization. No, there's no job for you.
Yeah, it was really interesting when we created our values. We were a team of 6, and we basically based the values off me and one other person who I saw as the successful people in the company at that point. And we, over the 6 months that followed, we turned over the other 4 people. So it was, I remember my implementer telling me to expect that to happen. And I kind of thought, well, we'll see. And that's exactly what happened. So.
Yeah, I think that our transition into, number one, just going in from nothing into Accelerator and then to EO, but then we also implemented EOS. Our implementer had our leadership team come, and we met at their office, and we all sat around a big table and spent 2 days. And at the end of that, he said, well, Brent, I think there's these 2 people that shouldn't be on the leadership team. There's no reason for them. Yep. So, we had spent a couple of years with people on the leadership team that we had modeled off of EOS without an implementer, only to find out that they were sort of redundant.
So, yeah, I think, it's interesting to one mistake that we made at one point was building an org chart around the people that we had rather than around what the business needed, and really thinking critically about what are the seats that we need. Do we have someone in that role full-time, in that role part-time, or otherwise? I'm going to go turn that light back on.
Yeah, that
Sorry, Brent.
no, it's all right. That idea of the org chart and having the right seat is so important.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll talk really fast.
Okay, let's go.
And I've seen other companies make that mistake where, hey, I've all these people, I'm going to fit them into seats instead of thinking about, hey, here's my business needs.
Right.
Let's see if we have the right person for the right seat rather than the person that can fit in a seat. That's a hard concept to get over.
Yep, exactly. And another thing that really helped us was being explicit about what the seats are, even if we don't have someone in them, so that everyone is on the same page about, we know we need this. We're planning to do it at some point. We're not doing it now. We're doing that purposefully. Now we can stop talking about issues of if we had this or if we had that. It's like, we've already decided this is not what we're doing right now, and we acknowledge that we do need it in the future.
Yeah. What sort of challenges have you seen then with getting your team to adopt that sort of model of having a leadership and having these L10 meetings and things like that?
Challenge wise, I think there were a bunch along the way. At first it was, we had a leadership level 10, and then, as you were kind of saying, when we were 6 people, everybody thought they should be on the leadership team. And, it turns out, like, what does the business need is what matters, right? So we had a leadership L10 that had me and one other person. And then we had call it a delivery, or for lack of a better term, level 10 with the rest of the people. And it's just, the reason they're separated is because you're talking about different things. You're talking about things that don't relate to delivery in the leadership L10, and you're talking about things that don't relate to leadership in the delivery L10. So separating was what I would say not well received, but necessary and fruitful.
Yeah, I think my former business partner would always say there's certain things that don't need to be heard out of Brent's head, because I'm the visionary and I'm an idea person, and most of them are bad, but I like to talk about them, and it gets everybody very nervous, especially as your team grows and you start talking about, here's the vision that I have. And if you don't filter that, pretty soon, like, oh man, like, we talked about that last quarter and it's still not done. Like, why did they even tell us about this?
Right. Yep, exactly. I remember very vividly when we were about 25 people, I'd go ask someone a question like, hey, I have this idea to try this thing. And, I'd check in a week later to find out they'd spent the whole week working on it. It's like, oh, that was not what I meant by asking that question. And I understand why you might think that's impressive, or you maybe took that step, but that's not where we need to go right now. Like, we need to focus on our priorities, and we'll come back to it at the appropriate time. So I'll put it on the issues list, and we'll get to it.
Did you say, yeah, we'll still use the daiquiri maker in the lunchroom though?
For sure.
Because it was a great idea, right?
Yep.
You just don't want it at the
really
lunchroom.
Good idea.
Hey, we'll just use it on weekends.
Yeah, there you go.
So tell us, you're on the board. There's a path to leadership in EO. Tell us about why you joined the board, and then how many times you've been on the board, and right now you're the finance chair. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been on the board. I think this is my 3rd year, and I just signed up for year 4, all as the finance chair. Along the way, they added a governance chair as well as a necessary role. So I'm doing that one as well. So I joined primarily to get involved and get connected to people outside of my forum. So a lot of times when you talk to people about EO, the thing that they mention first is their forum and how valuable their forum is. And I agree, it is extremely valuable. I love them. We've been on an amazing run, and I see that going for quite some time. But I think the other thing that's maybe a little bit more lost is you get out of EO what you put into it. So, getting outside the forum, building connections, learning from people. it was an effort to really kind of understand that. I get to know people best when I work side by side with them. So it's been really nice to, you know, especially have a seat that really like touches every aspect of EO or of EO of the chapter in a way to get to know other members better.
Yeah, and I think too, there's a little bit of a bridge between what your forum does and what the board does. There's a communication path, and it's always important to have that, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's having people in your forum who know what's going on in the chapter and getting the coolest events for me are the ones where my forum is at the event. You really get a lot out of it. You see who people are connected to, how they're connected. You learn, you grow all together.
In our green room before we started, I told you about that I've been interviewing some newer people who are just joining EO, and now you're a seasoned member, 10 years. Did you have certain expectations that you had prior, and can you reflect on those? I know I didn't even set you up for this question, but
Yeah, that's all
it's in.
right. Here's what I can tell you. So because I was an accelerator, I had a pretty good understanding of what EO was all about. So I know a lot of people when they join, they're surprised at, it sounds like a business group, but what it is, from my perspective, is really a life group, and your business is a big part of your life, but balanced life includes your family, your community, and yourself. And to grow in all aspects has been something that I kind of knew was coming, but compared to Accelerator, it's actually even more in EO. It's more balanced than the Accelerator program, which really seemed to focus mostly on your business.
Yeah, I think maybe the accelerator too is driven by the accountability leader, where it's
True.
not self-managed, and you do have. My experience was that every 6 months I had a different experience in accelerator because every single leader was so different.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, Whereas in your forum, it's pretty consistent. We have a constitution that we should live by, and certain rules that we
Yep.
work on as a forum, so it is a little bit more consistent. Um,
Yeah.
from that expectation standpoint, then we did talk a little bit about it's not all about business, and some of these groups out there really are only about business. But I also wanted to kind of tie back when I said we shouldn't should on people. What does that mean, and how does that reflect in how we help others, right?
Yeah. Okay. Sure. So should. I'm going to say that to me that means you're not really shoulding. Like you make it sound like you're um, sharing an idea, but what you're really doing is casting an expectation, right? But it's an expectation where you don't get agreement, so the other party receives it. They know that you've said should, but they're by you saying should, are they making a commitment? They're not. Um, so like you might as well say you must do this and then just not let them respond at all. And it's to me, it's not collaborative. It's kind of a top-down approach to speaking.
Yeah, my experience has been when sharing with people, because I definitely took on the Gestalt approach, which is another fancy German
Yeah.
word for just share your experience and don't. I think it's German. Anyways, I find that a lot of other people don't understand what I'm trying to get at, and sometimes you have to tell them here's I'm going to tell it in my own experience. This is the way I did it, and you can
Right.
take it. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more have a little more explanation on it and some people just want advice, right?
Yeah, that is excuse me, that is true. People a lot of times want advice, but I think when you're seeking advice, you're effectively removing your own accountability. Um, I think the uh, the Gestalt mindset is healthy in a group because you own your own outcome. You know, Somebody shares their experience. It might not relate to your situation, but you take from it what you want to take from it, and that's on you. So it's really about maintaining a healthy relationship by not having somebody who gave you advice without really having full context, where now you don't own the outcome, they own the outcome, even though it's your business.
Yeah, and I guess too, it helps to understand that we're all in that same little circle, and this is the way we're going to communicate that. we're maybe in a coaching relationship. And I know we talked about like maybe there's people with life coaches. Coaches are more about you have to do it this way, or here's
Right.
some instructions on the way to do it and see how it comes back. Our experience sharing would be more like in my business, I reviewed our payroll on a biweekly basis and found, whatever we did audit of something or another, and this is our outcome of the way we did it. And
Right.
then you
And
just
I
leave it.
take from that, Brent, I take from that, oh, bi-weekly. That's something I never thought of. We pay weekly, but that would really help my cash flow.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's also about the listener, right?
Mm-hmm.
That however you're explaining it, if the other person is listening in a way with, I'm going to listen to see how they did it, because I could
Yep.
glean something that's important about it, right?
Right.
That's
Exactly.
that's really the thing that sets it apart from a lot of the other ones. The last part I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to touch on was that EO is not a networking group that you're trying to get business. Talk a little bit about
Right.
like, hey, Tim, I want you to buy my product because we're on the board and we should be doing business together, right? Or we're in the same forum. Tim, you should be doing all your business with me. Why wouldn't you? You're in my forum.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, EO has a very strict non-solicitation policy. So while people do business with each other in EO, um, it's not something where I could come to Brent and say, "Hey, Brent, I know that you probably have some custom software needs in your content business here, and I really think that Fjorge is the right thing for you." I think that just can create a bit of a toxic environment that I'm really glad is not a part of EO. But it is appropriate, of course, to work with EOers when it's relevant and it comes together naturally. Let's say. I think the other thing I'll say about that is, well, I understand my target market, and most of the companies that are in my target market are not EO companies. So I don't need EO to find business. I find business because I clearly understand the customer that I'm trying to serve.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to say we can't do business with each other. We just can't be. I can't be selling to you like,
Right.
if it's
Exactly.
something that you need, you could come to me and you could say, "Hey,
Yep.
I need this," but I'm not going to just
And
overtly come and say. I'm not going to go to I'm certainly not going to my forum, but I'm not going to even go to one of our networking meetings or groups, not
yep.
our monthly group meeting, and say, "Hey, here's my offering. I want everybody to. Here's a coupon code. Can you just buy it?"
Yep, exactly. And as the governance chair, I see, complaints about messaging or conversations where, somebody feels that another member is crossing the line of, soliciting business from them. And, we work to resolution. We work to help offenders understand what the policy is, why it's important, and what the ramifications are if they can't follow it.
Yeah, good point. So as we close out, what we can't give advice, but if somebody's interested in joining EO here in the Twin City or anywhere in the world, right? Because there's 17,000 people across the world now in an EO, and
Mm-hmm.
what what would you say to them? And I'll tell you, the first thing when I was membership chair, they said to me, "I don't have enough time."
Yeah. Or enough money, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that there is a time commitment, but I don't see it as substantial. I think if you're in a position where you're not able to step out of your business one day or a half a day a month, to really work on yourself, your family, and your business, I think maybe that's something that needs to be revisited. And that might be the exact reason why you need to join EO. It really is something that I believe not being tied to every second of your business is a key part of life, and it's definitely a key part of my life. And I think I learned how to do that through EO and through some urging from my wife.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, our wives always help us there,
Yeah, she's been
or
incredible.
significant life partners, I should say.
Yep.
Um, I do want to just go back, touch on the idea that this is a balance between family, personal, and business. And if you are engrossed in only one of them, and I can think of some big tech people, that sometimes
portray themselves as you have to work 120 hours a week. You have to be engrossed in your business all for those 120 hours a week. And, who cares about my family and my personal life, right? That's no way to live it, because at the end of the day, you're going to retire and hopefully you have a personal life.
Yeah, I heard someone, it was actually an EO speaker, I think, who said, what do you want people to write in your obituary? And think about what you wanted to say, and then how you live your life to make those things true. I don't want my obituary to be empty or, not have teeth in reality. So I want to work toward being a well-rounded person.
Well, who knows if you're going to have teeth? I mean, nobody cares about that, right? Well, yeah, Tim wore dentures.
Right?
Yeah, that was a bad joke.
One day, I hope to do that.
Sorry
too.
about that. So, Tim, as I close out, we'll give you a chance to do a shameless plug. I didn't tell you this either, but you're going to do a shameless plug about anything you want to plug. What would you like to plug today?
Oh boy, the obvious thing to plug would be EO. I got to think here. I'm blanking, Brent.
How about Fjorge? You could plug Fjorge.
I'll plug Fjorge. Why not?
There you go.
Fjorge does amazing custom web and mobile solutions for businesses of all sizes, and we're really working hard. We built an office in Ghana a couple of years ago, and we're really working hard to make a difference in Africa as well. So that's one of the passions in my life, and I will plug Fjorge.
That's awesome, and we should have a follow-up because we both. I ran my previous business. We ran with teams overseas, and we were very successful in our communications and growing our teams in pods, right? Mm-hmm. And I never really got to dig in with how your experience within Ghana, but I would like to have a follow-up on that. I think it's really. I think that's number one. It's a great thing that you're doing because you're helping a community grow, but it's also a challenge, right? And especially. We did Bolivia, which don't try that, but I think that it would be interesting to hear about that. There's a movie about a marathon. There's a judge in LA that does the marathon in Ghana with his little running group, Skid Row Marathon it's called. Okay. And they run the Ghana Marathon as one of their their goals as a group. So anyways, that's what I've seen of it. So, all right, Tim, well, now I'm rambling. I apologize. I normally don't ramble at the end, but we did get to talk about running really quick. So that got that part.
There you go.
Tim, how would people get a hold of you?
Probably the best way is either fjorge.com. That's FJORGE.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn as well.
All right. And I will put those, I'll put the links in the show notes. Tim Barsness with Fjorge. I'm just gonna bang that out a little bit. Maybe put it in the furnace a couple times to see how well it comes out.
That sounds good. I like it.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Brent.
Uncharted Entrepreneurship is a production of Content Basis LLC. Copyright 2023. You can find more award-winning content at contentbasis.io. And that wraps up the latest edition of Uncharted Entrepreneurship. Bold tales from entrepreneurial trailblazers. I'm your host, Brent Peterson, signing off after an incredible fireside chat with one of our intrepid trailblazing guests. Their first-hand perspective on conquering the unexplored wilds of business is just a taste of the rare wisdom you'll discover from pioneering entrepreneurs on this show. I also invite you to join me each week for insider commentary on the startup scene and digital marketing landscape on my Talk Commerce podcast. You can find Talk Commerce wherever you download podcasts or go to talk-commerce.com. I'd be grateful if you left a review and rating for Uncharted Entrepreneurship to help more bold founders find their way to game-changing insights that empower ventures to transform communities. This is your host, Brent Peterson, signing off for now. I'll see you around the virtual campfire next episode as we embark on another adventure into the great entrepreneurial unknown.